Hi there, Jerrel from Sungrand here, and today I wanted to talk a bit about Animelee. So this is going to be pretty interesting for me because I've never actually got to talk about Animelee before. It is a free-to-play fighting game that I launched a few years ago on mobile devices, so on iOS, Android, and believe it or not, Windows phones. So we did get a pretty good reception when the game launched. We had people all over the world playing it and giving their thoughts and letting us know they enjoyed the game. The Animelee has a built-in voting system, so people could vote for animals and voice their opinion on what animals they wanted. So over the years, we added a few animals to the roster of that. So it started with quite a few. Then we added Great White Shark, who had a really cool move set. He could dive underground and it would change his move set, and you can execute some moves specifically while he was under the ground or underwater. We added Sheep, which added a new class type to the game. So the Sheep is a regenerator. So his offense and defense and overall stats are not great. His hitbox data is not great, but he can self-regenerate with his down heavy moves. So that was an interesting way to fight. And secondly, or after that, we added Koala as the second regenerator type to join the roster. And instead of regenerating his own health, he's actually able to increase his own special meter. That was an interesting way to play because you would mostly play get off me tactics, and when you knew that you had just enough time, you could use your down heavy move to regenerate your special meter and to bust out those special moves that usually have some invincibility frames on them. And then the latest character we added was Snake. And he's an interesting character because his maximum life is actually very low, substantially low, and his frame data also isn't great. All of his attacks, or the vast majority of his attacks, have very small hitboxes, and his playstyle is he's able to inflict a poison state with his venomous strikes, with his heavy attacks. So that meant that you could poison your enemy and then just try to run away and avoid attacks or do knockback attacks to try and stay safe while the poison dealt the damage for you. So that was an interesting character. So people may find that Animelee is quite a different game from other fighting games, and I specifically designed it to feel very different from other fighting games. So I'm a huge fighting game fan. I really love games like Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, especially Smash Brothers. But with Animelee, what I wanted to do was create a game that people played differently. If I was going to make a game that copied games that already existed, then what's the point in making it? So with Animelee, I specifically wanted a game where each character felt like they had their own unique rhythm to playing the game. So playing as a kangaroo or a goat feels totally different from playing as a giraffe or a bear. And the game is designed to not be button mashy, in that every action, when designing each character and their moveset, I spent a lot of time considering the balance between cost and reward of every move that you take. So if you button mash, it's a very low chance that you're going to win that battle. The moves in Animelee generally have quite a few startup frames, and that's because I wanted players to be able to react to what they were seeing on screen as opposed to just figuring out which moves are exploitative and using those moves to take advantage of the enemy because you've got great frame data. I wanted to create a game that wasn't about that, that was about looking at what your enemy's doing, and then you've got barely enough time to react to what your enemy is doing. Not a lot of fighting games do that because a lot of fighting games boil down to, I've got this one character with a great, fast, cheap combo starter with incredible frame data, so I'll just exploit that and I'll cheese the enemy so I can keep getting cheap kills. So Animelee is designed specifically to not rely on cheap moves like that, though there are faster characters. Every move has a very highly considered amount of balance to it, because moves that seem like they're very exploitative and they've got great frame data and they've got high damage output, all of those moves are balanced out by the amount of special energy that you give to your enemies. So every time you hit the enemy, they receive their special meter builds up a bit. And certain moves are designed so that maybe their damage output is quite low, but as a trade-off, they don't increase the enemy's special meter that much. Whereas other moves are these big flashy moves. They deal tons of damage, but they increase the enemy's special meter quite a bit, which gives them the opportunity to make a comeback and turn the match around on you. And one of the worst situations is grabbing an enemy at the wrong time, because grabs in Animelee generally increase your enemy's special meter quite a bit. On the plus side, grabs are the only way to break through an enemy's shield. So characters like Crocodile and Lion, they tend to rely on the grabs quite a bit, but you'll find that if you spam those grabs, your enemy may as well, they'll very likely get the chance to go golden or something and then flip the match on you. So those are a lot of things that I've considered, and characters through testing, when I found that, oh man, this character's really cheap, they can deal so much damage, their frame data is so good. Often what I'll do is make sure that if a character does seem way too powerful, is that I can balance it out by making sure their cheap moves give the enemy more special energy, to give them a chance to do breakout of combos, or to even go golden, and to use moves that can turn the match around for them. So those are things I've considered. So the current state of Animelee is I'm not currently actively developing Animelee, because I'm currently focusing on the Silver Falls series. We have a number of games in development and a number of future games planned for Silver Falls, so I'm 100% focusing on that. I have not been working on Animelee. The last I left, I think we're on version 2.4. We added Snake, and we did a massive revamp to the game, so the game is substantially faster. Moves connect with each other a lot more smoothly, and I added a short hop buffer. And what the short hop buffer is certain characters have certain moves where at some point during the move, usually at the end of the move, they perform a short hop. Now, if you buffer your next move before or after you perform that short hop, you can actually get ground moves to perform in the air if you push the button before the short hop. Or you can even sometimes get ground moves to execute, or you can get air moves to execute while you're on the ground, depending on whether or not you buffer your next move before or after the short hop. And that's a great way to build more of variety in the way you fight. And the frame, usually the number of frames you have, that is usually around 10 to 12 frames or something like that. It may be a bit more depending on the character and the move that's performing the short hop, but that's a cool way to mix things up, because you can perform things in the air that you normally can't. You can perform things on the ground that you normally can't. It really lets you mix up your game, and you can really throw off your opponent. So I have had a number of people requesting this game be ported onto PC and onto Switch, and I would really love to consider porting this game to other platforms, especially the Switch. I love using the Switch right now. That's my favorite console to play. I would love to bring Animelee to that, but before I can do that, I have to focus on Silver Falls and get it established as a series that can support my studio as we develop more games into the future. And right now, Silver Falls is our road forward into that, into being a self-sustaining development studio in terms of our finances. So at the moment, we're not really making any money with Animelee, and it's free to play. There are in-game ads. They don't generate that much revenue, so it never really supported itself in terms of a product. But at the end of the day, I'm more interested in creating interesting games that are different and fun to play. But I do have to balance the fact that I'm running a game development studio, and I have to make sure our games are earning money to support the studio. So because of that, at this time, I can't keep working on Animelee. In the future, after Silver Falls is more established, I will go back to Animelee, and I do intend to port that onto other platforms. And when I do that, I won't be trickling characters in for the port. I think I'm going to be adding 4 or 5 more characters when I do the platform port. So I will be opening that up to votes for people, and one of the characters I personally would really like to see people vote in, and I would personally like in the game, is Octopus, because when I was first designing the game, I really wanted to have Octopus in there, but I didn't have the time to animate, and oh boy, animating Octopus is going to be a big job. But I thought this will be a cool character who could have a lot of just great combos and great multi-hit setups and some good grabs and things like that. So thanks for sticking around and listening. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a bit about Animelee. And if you're interested, check out Silver Falls 3 Down Stars. That's out on new Nintendo Switch right now and also compatible with new 2DS XL. We are working on Silver Falls Undertakers, which will be coming pretty soon. And then after that, we have other exclusive 3DS games coming. They will be Silver Falls Ghoul Busters, Silver Falls Lucid Nightmare, and Silver Falls Deadly Shadows. So anyway, thanks, Arnett. If you haven't tried Animelee, go ahead and try it. It's on the Google Play Store. It's currently down, but we're putting it back up on the App Store right now for iOS. And thanks for sticking around and watching. We'll see you next time.